The North American International Championships is the biggest tournament in the competitive Pokemon circuit. Right now, there are over 4,800 players registered for just the trading card game. And as the final tournament of the season, this is the last chance for so many players to qualify for Worlds. Not me though, I'm just going for the trophy. As I'm recording this, NAIC is only a week away. I actually just finished packing my suitcase, and let me tell you, some of the cards in there are absolutely insane. Normally, I struggle to find a deck right up until list submissions close. But this time, I've been cooking up a really sick concept for the past couple weeks. Now, I have a lot of ideas. Usually they flop after just a few games, and I put them back in the bulk box where they belong. But when an idea like this sticks around for more than a day, let alone weeks, it means that there is genuinely potential. And I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer, or fake you out with some random deck that I don't actually believe in. I'm going to cut straight to the chase and tell you all about N Zoroark with Team Rocket's Venture Bombs. And no Darmanitan. Instead, this list has a different monkey. But what led me to this conclusion? Why would I cut N's best attacker, and how am I even going to build this? It all started with a simple goal. I wanted to play a deck that could beat what I perceived to be the top 3 meta choices: Gardevoir, Dragapult, and the brand new Marnie's Grimmsnarl. These may not be the 3 most played decks across the entire field, but when it comes to top players, I was almost certain that it'd be the case. And realistically, they were who I needed to focus on beating if I wanted to win the entire event. In my testing throughout previous formats, Gardevoir was consistently the most difficult deck to counter. Very few options were significantly favored into it, and those that were often had to sacrifice too many other key matchups. One solid method of dealing with this Psychic Embracing Menace was to utilize strong Dark-type attackers. This is clearly demonstrated by multiple top-placing Eevee players now choosing to include Umbreon in their list to aid with this particular matchup, as well as the growing popularity of Charizard and Dragapult as a Dark-type attacking option. So a deck packed full of Dark Energy was absolutely at the forefront of my mind. No, not that one again. Dragapult and Grimmsnarl are actually fundamentally similar decks when you're looking to counter them. Neither is capable of hitting particularly hard with a single attack, and both heavily lean into spreading damage around the board. We've seen counters to this in the past, with big beefy Pokemon that can easily set up multiple Monkidori, primarily Blissey. But the new Marnie's Grimmsnarl deck can do this in a similar way, due to already including Dark Energy and having a self-sufficient energy acceleration method, freeing up those hand attachments for your many Monkidori. A solid Dark attacker that can easily enable a backline bench of Monkidori sounds exactly like Marnie's Grimmsnarl, so why not just play that? Well, there is one other key checkbox that I really want to tick for my NAIC deck: a solid draw engine. And while Marnie's Grimmsnarl is definitely lacking, Zoroark's trade ability might just be the best there is. Plus, N's Reshiram has an added benefit in these matchups. Normally, your opponent is disincentivized from attacking into your high HP fellas, since it'll leave damage on your board that can be immediately reflected with Monkidori. This isn't the end of the world though, and sometimes you do need to take that risk in order to make progress. But against N Zoroark, it is a straight up death sentence. By copying Reshiram's powerful rage after tanking a hit, you instantly gain access to an enormous attack, on top of all the Monkidori spread damage. The N's deck is obviously already packed full of Dark Energy to easily facilitate Monkidori's Adrenabrain. It's got its own built-in way to accelerate energy through N's PP up. Copying Reshiram's Virtuous Flame attack is more than enough to one-shot a Gardevoir. And trade is just a ridiculous draw engine. What's not to love? Now, the standard builds of this deck generally include a thick 3-2 line of N's Darmanitan, as well as multiple reversal energies to enable it as an attacker on its own. However, the new Shaman from Destined Rivals absolutely guts this card. And to be completely honest, in my opinion, it's always been a waste of both deck and bench space that could otherwise be committed to a more streamlined build. Plus, without it, we open up the bench for double Monkidori plays. Usually we'll want 3 Zoroark for the draw engine, 1 Reshiram to attack with, and 2 Monkidori whenever possible in those relevant matchups. And all that extra deck space really enables us to set up this kind of board way faster than standard Zoroark, with flexibility to speed up the deck through inclusions such as additional N's PP up for energy acceleration and energy switch to create easy double Monkidori plays out of nowhere. On top of that, Energy Switch has some incredible synergy with Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, opening up really surprising 240 damage swings when our opponent is down to only 3 or even 4 prizes. And there's one other card that the deck now has space for that is an absolute game changer: Team Rocket's Venture Bomb. I definitely want to include at least 2 or 3 of these. Monkey Dory means that we are functionally always winning the coin flip. It acts as an incredible damage fixing option, and can even come into play multiple turns later, denying Pheasandipity's flip the script after your initial attack, but opening up a multi-prize turn down the line. It also extends your reach when spreading damage back onto your opponent's board with Monkey Dory, completely catching unsuspecting opponents off guard, and even has a few great applications against common meta threats, such as breaking Pikachu's Resolute Heart and finishing off heavily damaged Drifloon and Screamtails against Gardevoir. So this concept sounds really solid, but how am I actually going to construct the complete 60? To be honest, I'm not fully decided on that yet, but I'm going to break down how I think about deck construction, key building blocks that make up this list, and the decision making when it comes to which packages you should actually play. Then I'll share a couple of 60 card drafts at the end. First up, the non-negotiables. These cards must appear in just about any variation of the deck. 4/4 Zoroark as the draw engine, 2 Reshiram to attack with, and at least 2 Monkey Dory to hit our Simian quota. Pheasandipity EX for additional draw, and Blood Moon Ursaluna EX as a late game attacking option. A few Ionos for some hand disruption, as well as a couple of Boss's Orders and counter catches for gusting. Buddy Buddy Poffin and Nestball are essential items for Pokemon Search, and Night Stretcher helps us with recovery. Some count of N's PP up and Energy Switch to accelerate our core game plan, and at least 2 Team Rocket's Venture Bombs for some explosive potential. A couple Ends Castles to bump stadiums and give us one-sided free retreat, and a whole bunch of Dark Energy to enable both our attackers and Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain. Alright, so how are we actually going to establish all of these Zoroarks? Getting the draw engine online is the highest priority, and it's what enables everything else in the deck to flow. There are 2 main options here. We could play 4 Serrano to search out our Zoroarks with Bombardier EX as fast carrier to find our basics. Alternatively, we could play 4 Arven to guarantee that early Buddy Buddy Poffin and Technical Machine Evolution to evolve our Zoruas. I'm personally leaning towards the Arven version. Since I'm off the Darumaka hype train, I can invest way more space into Buddy Buddy Poffin for those key turn 1 Zoruas. Plus, Arven offers the option to include more useful tools, as well as acting as a wild card when drawing through your deck to piece together an item-based combo. Next up is which A-Spec we play. There are actually 3 really solid options: Hyper Aroma, Secret Box, and Unfair Stamp. Hyper Aroma has a lot of synergy with a 4 Arven build, since you can just about always guarantee it on turn 2, but it can get a bit redundant if you've already slammed down a turn 1 Technical Machine Evolution. Secret Box is great for pulling off massive combos, and it gets some bonus points if you aren't on Arven, since it acts as a unique way to find tools from the deck. Lastly, we've got Unfair Stamp, and contrary to its intended purpose, I love this card for my own personal shuffle draw 5 on an item. It's the perfect way to start off a turn where I need to draw into multiple combo pieces. My opponent getting put down to a 2-card hand is just the cherry on top. Now I think it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, and this elephant has an extremely long neck. Raging Bolt is a very prevalent deck in the current meta that I've just straight up ignored until now, as well as other aggressive 2-prize decks like Joltik Box. But actually, I think these matchups are completely fine. There are 2 main ways we can build the deck to handle these, and the first is to simply race them. By including the package of Binding Mochi and Petron EX, which also provides complete immunity to retreat locking, we gain access to an easy 210 damage swing with Zoroark, cleanly dealing with common support Pokemon such as Teal Mask Ogapon and Pheasandipity. But what if we need to hit harder, say 230 damage for an Iron Hands? Well, this is where some of that Rocket's Bomb damage fixing comes into play. It may seem like a big combo to pull off, but trust me, Zoroark's trade draw engine is insane and can enable so many huge plays. After we've taken that first 2-prize KO with Zoroark, we can easily lock up the next 4 by swinging with Ursaluna. Thanks to Energy Switch, we're allowed to attack with it much earlier than other decks normally would. A standard game against Raging Bolt looks like this. They initiate the race by taking a single prize KO. You set up your Zoroarks and Pheasandipity, draw a bunch of cards, rip Arven for Counter Catcher and Binding Mochi if required, then take 2 prizes in response on one of their support Pokemon, usually Teal Mask Ogapon. They KO your Zoroark and you immediately respond with Ursaluna, attaching 1 from hand and accelerating the other energy with a combination of Ends PP up and Energy Switch. Finally, after they knock it out, you can just bring it straight back and shake their hand. The alternative answer to 2-prize decks involves a different use of your tools, preying on their lack of switching cards and including one of my favorite 1-prize attacking options, Petulant. By including the Ace Nullifier Genesect, their prime catches will become useless, most likely leaving them with only a single option to escape Petulant's Poison Chain Retreat Lock on their liabilities. This attack is really easy to pull off with the help of either Energy Switch or Counter Gain. Now, speaking of Petulant, the last aspect of this deck that I really want to include is some form of one prize attacker. A solid way to deal 70 damage for evolving basics, and offset the prize trade when required. Petulant is great for this, since the poison damage won't activate Pheasandipity's Flip the Script ability. But another really spicy option I've been testing out is N's Purloin. If you happen to be playing the Binding Mochi package, Thieving Swipe will reach that key 70 damage threshold, and you get full knowledge of your opponent's hand with the option to delete one of those cards. It's also Buddy Buddy Poffin searchable, synergizes with N's PP up, and can even be copied by Night Joker if you ever need to. Thanks for sitting through this section on how I theorize deck building. I would love to know if you found it helpful, and while you're down there commenting, make sure you're subscribed as well. Anyway, here are a couple example deck lists I've drafted up so far. This first one utilizes the Arven engine along with Hyper Aroma for the A-Spec, opting for Binding Mochi as the answer to 2 prize decks, and because of this, I've chosen to include Purloin as the 1 prize attacker. This second example also runs 4 Arven, but instead makes use of Unfair Stamp as the A-Spec. This does mean that we need to include a couple Ultra Balls to find our Zoroarks. I've cut out the damage boosting tools, and I'm instead playing 2 Counter Gain, Genesect, and Petulant, both as my answer to 2 prize decks through Retreat Locking, and as a 1 prize attacking option in other matchups. I'm genuinely not sure if I'll end up playing this deck or not, but I really want to. If I do chicken out last minute like I did with Blissey, I'll drop this video before NAIC, in hopes that someone braver than me picks it up and does this deck the justice it deserves. Otherwise, this is going to be scheduled to post right after I win NAIC. I'm really hoping this deck does work out though, because it is so much fun to play. And regardless of if I do play it at NAIC or not, you should seriously give it a go. I'll catch you in the next one. These end screens have been getting way longer. Thank you so much to all my channel members for the support. I think we've just hit over 100, which is insane. And even if you can't directly support me as a channel member, you can still help out by clicking the video on screen right now. Trust me, it's a good one.